You call this food? My husband hissed after inviting his family over for dinner. My parents aren't strays. Don't feed them scraps. My in-laws froze. But a second later, his jaw dropped when I whispered, I didn't order this. My name is Sabrina. I'm 28 years old, a UX designer on maternity leave, and I used to believe I had a pretty solid life. I was married to a man who, at least at the beginning, seemed like the kind of guy you build a future with, funny, charming, supportive. His name is Luke, and we met through mutual friends at a weekend retreat in the mountains. He made everyone laugh, but somehow made me feel like I was the only person in the room. After a year of dating, he proposed during a picnic on the coast. I said yes, without hesitation. My parents loved him. His parents, Evan and Vivian, were warm, generous, and incredibly welcoming. Vivian called me her second daughter, and Evan always brought over wine and jokes. When we got married, both families pitched in for the down payment on our little starter home in the suburbs. I thought I had hit the jackpot. Things were good. Really good. Then I got pregnant and everything started to shift. Luke was thrilled, said all the right things like, I'm going to be the best dad ever, and I'll work extra to make sure our baby has everything. And he did. He started working late nights at his IT job, claiming he was banking overtime. But the longer my belly grew, the more distant he became that I tried to rationalize it. He's just stressed, I told myself. This is how he shows he cares. But caring doesn't look like forgetting to ask how your wife is feeling after she's spent the day vomiting and trying to scrub the bathtub without blacking out. It doesn't look like turning every shared responsibility into a solo performance. When I was working, we split the chores. When I got pregnant, Luke insisted on taking over. At first, he cooked, did the laundry, even rubbed my feet when I was too sore to stand. But the more he worked late, the less he did. Eventually, everything defaulted back to me. It was like my pregnancy had turned me invisible. 6 months, I took both paid leave and maternity leave. I was grateful for the break, but I underestimated how hard it would be to be home alone all day, sick and hormonal, and still trying to keep the house spotless. Luke, meanwhile, seemed to think I was living in luxury point one evening. He came home earlier than usual. I was lying down on the couch, completely drained. I hadn't cooked dinner yet. The moment he walked in, he frowned. You're just lying there? I sat up, rubbing my temple. I've been nauseous all afternoon. I just needed a minute. Luke dropped his bag and stared at the kitchen. You've been home all day, Sabrina. There's nothing ready. I work 10 hours, and I come home to this. I blinked, stunned. I'm growing a human being, Luke. I'm doing my best. Oh, here we go, he muttered, grabbing a drink from the fridge. You always play the I'm pregnant card when you don't want to do anything. That hit hard. Are you kidding me right now? He looked back at me. No, I'm not. You've checked out. You're not working. You barely do anything around here anymore. I felt my throat tighten. So, what do you want from me? You want a wife or a full-time maid? Luke shook his head like I was being dramatic. I want you to stop acting like carrying a baby gives you a free pass. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stood up, walked past him, and said, I'm going to stay with my parents. I need space. I need peace. Luke's response, fine. Do whatever you want. And so I did. I packed a suitcase that night. My dad picked me up the next morning, and we didn't speak a word during the drive. He just squeezed my hand when we pulled into their driveway. My mom had already made up the guest room. She put lavender lotion on the nightstand. I felt safe. 2 weeks passed, then 3. I sent Luke one update about the pregnancy, but he didn't respond. It hurt, but I wasn't surprised. I had expected the cold shoulder. Then, out of nowhere, my parents opened the front door one afternoon, and there stood Evan and Vivian. I was folding baby clothes in the living room when my mom called out, Sabrina, you have visitors. I froze. Vivian stepped inside, her face drawn with worry. Evan held a paper bag of groceries and looked equally uncomfortable. We're so sorry, Vivian said immediately. We had no idea what was happening. Luke never told us you left. Evan added, we stopped by your place, and when you weren't there, we pressed him until he finally admitted it. I'm embarrassed to say we thought everything was fine. I sat down slowly, unsure what to say. Vivian leaned in, her voice low. Sabrina, I know you're going through a lot. I remember what pregnancy was like, and I just want you to know you don't have to go through it alone. They stayed for over an hour, offering apologies, stories about Luke's childhood, even a few bad dad jokes. I smiled politely, but inside I was torn. Luke wasn't just absent. He was cruel. But maybe, just maybe, this visit was a sign that someone in that family still had compassion. A few days later, Luke showed up on my parents' porch. No call, no text, just rang the bell like nothing had happened. When I opened the door, he looked exhausted. I'm sorry, he said. I shouldn't have said what I said. I didn't mean to make you feel alone. I crossed my arms. You didn't make me feel alone, Luke. You left me alone. He looked down. I know. I was overwhelmed, stressed, but I want to fix this. I wanted to believe him. I told him I'd come back, but only after the baby was born. I didn't want stress around my final trimester. He agreed, or at least he said he did. Lily was born on a rainy morning in early October after 14 long hours of labor. My mother held my hand through the final pushes because Luke was still on the way, caught in traffic after working late the night before. He arrived just in time to hear our daughter's first cry. I'll never forget the look on his face. Raw, shaken, teary-eyed. For a moment, I let myself believe things were going to be different. We brought Lily home, wrapped in a floral blanket and hope. The first few days passed in a blur of diapers, tiny hiccups, and visitors bearing casseroles. Luke was tender and attentive at first, cradling Lily like she was made of glass, kissing my forehead as I drifted in and out of sleep. But his phone never stopped buzzing. Even during feedings, even when I was crying in the shower, he was answering Slack messages, telling me he just needed to stay in the loop. By week 2, he was back at work full-time. That's when reality hit. Lily had colic. She screamed for hours every night. She wouldn't latch properly. I was pumping between feedings just to keep up. I was bleeding, leaking, sweating through 2 shirts a night, and I hadn't slept for more than 2 hours in a row in days. Luke would step over burp cloths on the floor, kiss Lily once on the head, and say, "You've got this, babe," as he left with a travel mug in hand. I didn't have this. I was drowning. He started coming home later again, sometimes past 9 p.m. And when he did walk in, he expected dinner. I tried. I really did. But some nights, I was too weak to stand. One night, after an especially brutal evening, I fell asleep holding Lily in the rocker. I woke up to find her finally passed out, my shirt soaked with milk. I stumbled to the kitchen, reheated some soup, and left it on the stove for Luke. He walked in, looked around, and raised an eyebrow. Soup again? I blinked at him. It's the best I could do. She hasn't stopped crying since. Noon. He gave a tight smile. You know my parents are coming next Saturday, right? I'd appreciate it if you actually planned something decent. I didn't forget, I said. But Vivian already texted me. She said I shouldn't stress about food. Luke snorted. That's just for being polite. I don't want them thinking you can't manage a simple lunch. I didn't reply. That week was pure chaos. Lily's sleep got worse. I was running on caffeine and dry shampoo. The night before the visit, I tried to cook something, started a pasta bake, but Lily had a meltdown halfway through, and I had to abandon it. By morning, I was shaking from exhaustion. Luke left early. Remember, no store-bought junk. I want my mom to think we've got it together, he said, as if we hadn't fallen apart the second he walked out the door. Desperate, I called a local gourmet deli and ordered an artisan appetizer spread. Marinated olives, rosemary focaccia, truffle hummus, prosciutto, imported cheeses, handcrafted crackers. I even picked up a bouquet of tulips from the corner florist. As I started arranging the food, the doorbell rang. I opened it to see Vivian and Evan standing on the porch, beaming. Surprise? Vivian said, holding a bottle of white wine in one hand and a warm smile in the other. Evan raised a bag. We figured you could use reinforcements. I almost cried. They came in and immediately took over. Vivian scooped up Lily like she'd been waiting all week for it. Evan opened the wine and started unpacking the food he'd brought, store-bought appetizers from the same deli I used. I told them what I had ordered, and Vivian laughed. Perfect. We're having a feast. Honestly, I wish someone had done this for me when Luke was born. She noticed the dark circles under my eyes. You haven't slept, have you? Not really, I admitted. Then you go lie down. Now we've got Lily. We've got the food. Go. I didn't argue. I lay down on the couch with the sounds of Lily gurgling in the background, Evan humming softly, and Vivian cooing over her granddaughter. The wine had a light citrus smell I hadn't noticed before. I drifted off almost immediately. When I woke up, the house was quiet until I heard keys in the door, then his voice. Sabrina, are you seriously sleeping right now? I sat up, groggy and startled. Luke stood in the entryway, holding the deli platter I had prepped. What are these? You bought appetizers? Are you kidding me? My chest tightened. What are you talking about? He looked disgusted. I asked you to cook. My parents are here, and this is what you give them. He shook his head and started toward the kitchen. I'll throw this crap away and make something myself. Wait, Luke. Your dad brought those. He stopped. What? I stood up. Your parents brought those. I didn't order them. He turned slowly, eyes narrowing. You're lying. Before I could speak again, a voice cut through the room like a blade. She's not lying. Evan stood in the doorway with a glass of wine in hand. Vivian was behind him, holding Lily. You bought those appetizers? Luke asked, clearly thrown off. Evan walked forward. Yes. Vivian picked them out. I paid. We figured Sabrina would be exhausted, so we wanted to help. Luke's jaw tightened. Oh, I just thought you didn't think. Evan snapped. Vivian's voice was colder than I'd ever heard it. You just assumed and insulted your wife in front of your daughter. Luke's face went pale. He tried to laugh it off, but Evan wasn't smiling. I thought you had grown up after what happened before the baby was born, but it looks like you're still the same entitled kid who thinks everyone exists to serve him. Luke looked at me, then back at his parents. I'm sorry. I didn't know. You didn't ask, Vivian said. You just yelled. A silence settled over the room. Then Luke's phone, left charging on the dining table, buzzed twice. Vivian, closest to it, instinctively glanced at the screen. Her face froze, then hardened. She picked it up. Who's Julia? Luke's eyes widened. Mom, he started, but she held up the phone and read aloud. You left your sweatshirt and lighter here. Can't wait for next time. My heart dropped. What? What is that? Luke stood stiffly, like a man caught in the middle of an avalanche. His mother held up his phone, her hand perfectly steady, though her voice quivered with control. You want to explain this? The screen was still glowing. Everyone could see it. Everyone except Lily, who was asleep in her bassinet, blissfully unaware her father was unraveling. Luke shifted his weight. It's not what you think. Vivian narrowed her eyes. Then explain it. It's just a message from someone at work. It's not serious. His father stepped forward. Luke, are you having an affair? Luke didn't answer. That silence stretched until it snapped. I turned, voice steady. How long? He swallowed. Since you went to stay with your parents. I didn't mean for it to go that far. We were fighting. I was lonely. Evan's voice stayed low. She was pregnant with your daughter. What kind of man leaves his pregnant wife and pretends he's putting in overtime while meeting another woman? His mother stared at him like she didn't recognize him. We trusted you. We defended you. You were gone, Luke snapped. I left to survive, I said, stepping forward. You think I wanted to go? You made this house unbearable. You made me feel like a burden for being pregnant with your child. He ran his hand through his hair. I'm sorry. Okay. It didn't mean anything. Her name's Julia, I asked, keeping my tone flat. Luke's mouth dropped open. How? Your phone lit up while you were too busy accusing me of laziness. Vivian's hands dropped to her sides. You said you wanted to fix things, that you wanted to be better, but you came here, insulted your wife, lied again, and now this. Luke opened his mouth, but Evan raised his hand. Don't. His father turned to me. Do you want him out? Yes, I said without hesitation. Tonight. Luke's jaw dropped. You're kicking me out of my own house. You've forfeited your place here, I said. I won't share a roof with someone who disrespects me in front of my child. Evan nodded and walked down the hall. Moments later, he returned with a duffel bag and set it firmly at Luke's feet. You'll stay with us until this is resolved. Luke looked at his mother. Mom. Vivian's response was simple. You're a son, but that doesn't make you right. I picked Lily up and walked to the nursery as they escorted him out of the house. I didn't look back. 3 days later, I heard the doorbell. When I opened it, Vivian and Evan were standing there. No Luke, just them and a manila folder. He signed everything. Evan said as he walked in that we didn't let him argue. Vivian placed the folder on the table. Full custody, divorce terms, child support, clean and simple. Then she handed me a white envelope that I hesitated. It's from us, she said softly. So, you don't have to struggle because of what he did. Inside was a check, generous enough to give me breathing room for months. I don't want to take money from you. You're not, Evan said. You're taking it from the people who believe in protecting the innocent. Vivian added, he's going to repay every penny. We've taken over his salary and expenses. No more online orders, no more credit cards. He gets a weekly allowance, just enough to get to work and eat. That's all. And Lily's trust? I asked. We'll make sure it gets paid every month on time. If not, he'll answer to us. I stared at the documents. They weren't just legal, they were merciful. They gave me freedom. I signed that afternoon. Luke didn't contact me. Didn't show up. I didn't expect him to. Later, I found out Julia had ghosted him the moment the divorce became public. Word spread in his office. HR reassigned him to internal admin work. No bonuses, no promotion track. He moved into a basement-level unit near the bus line. Vivian texted me on the 1st of each month to confirm the child support deposit. She never missed a message. Lily and I stayed with my parents until spring. My mom helped with bottle feeds at night. My dad fixed up my old childhood room. There was always soup, clean towels, and laughter in that house, even on days when I couldn't laugh myself. When I returned to work, my boss welcomed me back with no questions and a flexible schedule. My colleagues left sticky notes on my desk that said things like, "You've got this, one meeting at a time." I found a small 2-bedroom apartment near a park with soft light and quiet mornings. Lily's room is filled with second-hand picture books and oversized stuffed animals that she insists on lining up like sentinels around her crib. One afternoon, while she was napping, I stood in the kitchen and realized the silence felt good. It wasn't empty anymore. It was mine. Sometimes friends ask if I miss being married. I tell them, no. I miss the version of myself I imagined I'd become. I miss the fairy tale I held on to too long. But the marriage? I don't miss apologizing for being exhausted. I don't miss cleaning while holding back tears. I don't miss being made to feel like I failed for not cooking a hot meal on 2 hours of sleep. I don't miss Luke. People ask if I regret anything. Yes, I regret shrinking. I regret softening every edge of myself to avoid conflict. I regret making excuses for a man who didn't deserve them, but I don't regret walking away. I don't regret choosing peace over pretending. I don't regret packing a bag, taking my daughter, and never looking back. And I definitely don't regret saying, this ends here. Because it did. And I'm still here, still standing and finally free.